What's going on, everybody? My name is Sam. I hope you're doing good. Welcome to REL 212. This is an introduction to the New Testament. Now, in this course, we're going to cover what many consider to be the greatest story ever told, and that is the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ and all its implications. Now, obviously, that's not without some controversy. And Jesus Christ's life and the New Testament itself has faced a ton of criticism. And we are going to look into some of that. However, I don't think that it can be denied that Jesus Christ and all that he did probably had more impact on the world than any one individual that we can think of in world history. So it's understandable that we should study Jesus Christ. It's understandable that we should study what he said, what he taught, what he did, and all its implications and the rise of the early church. And that's what we're going to look at in the New Testament. Now, before we move any further, I got a couple of housekeeping items that I want to jump into. Obviously, if you're watching this, you've already logged on. So go into the Moodle and download or look at very thoroughly the syllabus. That syllabus gives you an overview of the course. It's got my contact information on there. In addition to that, it tells you how the course is assessed, and it also gives objectives. In other words, what is it we want to accomplish as we go through the semester. That being said, let me just briefly go over how I'm going to assess the course. Basically, there's 3 groups, and there's 4 different types of assignments. Well, really 3 different types of assignments, depending on how you count the exam. But the first group consists of writing assignments and quizzes. Now, quizzes are pretty straightforward, just a series of questions, some of them multiple choice, some of them essay, matching, true, false, that kind of thing, just to gauge how well you have assimilated, how well you have digested the material, and to see if you know it. Those quizzes, usually you have 2 chances to take them. I averaged the 2 chances, so you can't just go and take it and just see what the answers are and then go back. You need to try to do well on both attempts. The other one is the writing assignments, and again, these 2 are grouped together, and this will be based on some topic or subject for that week, and I will provide a prompt, and you're to respond and submit a paper. Please try to format that correctly. The requirements for all that will be located in the prompt. Next is the forum discussions. Now, this does count about 40% of your grade, so they do matter. I've had some students who just don't participate, and I don't know why, but please participate in these. These are really important. And I will provide a prompt. You will have 3 or 4 days to respond to that prompt, to tell me what your opinion is. Sometimes these are controversial prompts. Sometimes they're just basic, understanding type prompts, that kind of thing. And so you tell me what your opinion is. You back that opinion with different resources that have been provided, or maybe some you've brought in, and reason and fact and that kind of thing. Then, after 3 or 4 days, you are to respond to another student's prompt. Now, your grade is based on your initial post as well as your response. So if you don't respond, your grade will be lowered. I will jump in from time to time to provide my insight and to provide my opinion and hopefully encourage and give you some information. Maybe that will be helpful as well. The third category is obviously your final exam. So just kind of be prepared for it, and it'll be based on a lot of the essay questions and quizzes that we have covered throughout the semester. The attendance, let me jump on that real quick. Attendance is really important in an online course, and I would suggest that you try to log on at least 2 or 3 times a week. If you see that you can't log on for more than a week or so, please contact me and let me know that you won't be, because if you miss 2 weeks worth of assignments in a row, due to the James Brunt online attendance policy, I should drop you. I will let you know before that happens. I'll try to contact you and let you know. But you have to be taking great care to make sure you log on a regular basis and complete the assignments. And if you're having a problem, contact me. The quickest way to get up with me, by the way, will probably be Moodle Messenger, because this is something that I don't do full time. I'm not checking my email probably just 2 or 3 times a week, but every time I log on to Moodle, the messenger's up there. So if you shoot me a message on that, I'll probably respond to it quicker than I do an email. Or you can just shoot me a text message or a phone call. Leave me a message, because sometimes I don't answer if I don't recognize the number. So just leave me a message and I'll give you a call back. Now, let's look at the textbook real quick. The textbook's pretty simple. It is a New Testament, or a Bible. This is one I think that is suggested in the syllabus, but any good study Bible will actually do. This is the HarperCollins Study Bible. It's a really academic kind of study Bible. The ESV Study Bible is a real good one as well, so if you've got that. But if you've got a study Bible that has extensive notes in it, extensive book introductions, that will be fine. You can get along with that. In addition to that, here's another resource I have. If you just want to pick it up for yourself personally, this is called Haley's Bible Handbook. You could probably pick one of these up on Amazon. I'm sure you can probably get a used one for pretty cheap. I think they even have a Kindle version of this. This has got the Old and the New Testament in it, but it's really good for personal study. So you may want to pick that up. Again, that's an optional book. Another optional book will be my book that I actually wrote called Struggling with God. This book kind of gives you an overview of Christian theology, which we'll get into when we get into the book of Romans. And so that may be helpful, but again, it's an optional text. You don't necessarily have to have it to complete the course. Now, with all of that covered, maybe we got it all. With all that covered, let's just go over the New Testament very briefly. I think if we got a structure of how the New Testament's laid out, and it'll help us kind of organize it in our mind and help us moving forward. The New Testament's basically broken down to three different sections, some would call it three different genres. The first one would be the Gospels, the second one the history, and the third one the epistles or the letters. The Gospels are made up of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now, Matthew, Mark, and Luke are all considered what's called synoptic Gospels. That means they are very similar in their structure and their content. Obviously, there's some things in Matthew that he includes that Mark doesn't include. There's some things in Luke that neither one Matthew and Mark include, but basically they contain many of the same stories and many of the same things that Jesus said, maybe worded or phrased a little bit differently. The fourth gospel, the Gospel of John, is completely different. It is probably about 90% unique. However, a lot of it contains private conversations between Jesus and his disciples, and the majority of it, I think, takes place probably the final week of Jesus' life, as John focuses on 7 signs or symbols that help to prove that Jesus is the Son of God, that he is divine. The second category or genre is history, and there's only one book included in that, and that is the book of Acts. And this kind of chronicles the birth and the rise of the early church. The two main characters in this book, the first part of the book is Peter, which was the lead apostle that Jesus had chosen. And then later on, that takes up the story as the gospel moves beyond Judea into the Gentile world under Paul. And he becomes one of the main characters who was initially an enemy of the Christian faith. Then we have the letters. The letters are basically just that, or epistles. They're letters that were written by prominent figures of the church, and they help explain, certain Christian doctrines. There's opposition that has to be faced within the early church, and these letters face some of the major questions and opposition that is coming up. They're broken down in 2 sections, the general epistles, the Pauline epistles, and then the general epistles. The Pauline epistles start with Romans, goes all the way to Philemon. Philemon, for example, 1st, 2nd Timothy, Titus, they're all personal letters. The rest of the letters pretty much are written to churches in general, and they just address certain issues within the church. Romans is probably the most... what's a good way to put this? This is probably the most systematic of the letters. In other words, it was written specifically to communicate what Christians believe and teach. The other letters are kind of written to put out fires. They're written to answer questions that people were having and to address certain issues. The general epistles include epistles or letters from Peter, James, John, Jude. There's the letter to the Hebrews, which we're unsure who the author of that was, but it obviously has some Pauline influence. And then you have Revelation. Now, Revelation's a unique monster, literally almost. It's a unique monster. It is considered an epistle or a letter, but it could also be considered apocalyptic. It's full of these weird visions and things like that. So that's the breakdown of the New Testament. I hope that's helpful, and that'll help get us started as we move into this course. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. I would love to help. Looking forward to the course. See you.